Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to replace your fuel pump in your Dodge Dakota RT or your regular Dakota. You'll use the same steps if you're just replacing the pump with a stock one, but we're going to upgrade while we're in there. But let's get to it. First thing we're going to do is jack it up and put some jack stands under the axles because my truck is lowered. It's not the lowest of Dakotas, but let's get some more room. And then I'll show you where all the bed bolts are and what sizes and what tools we're going to use. First thing we're going to do is get this thing jacked up and get some jack stands under the axles. I don't have the lowest of Dakotas, but you're not getting under that without picking it up first. And we're going to do this as easy as possible. My plan is to remove the fuel fill, loosen all the bolts up and the wiring in the back. It might actually make it, and try to pick up just the one side on the driver and fish the pump out and back in, because I don't have any help here right now. I can get help if I need to, but I'd rather show you how you could do this yourself, hopefully as safe and easily as possible. It may not work out that way, but you're coming on the journey with me, so let's get it. On mine, I've got 4 Phillips surrounding the filler neck. My plan is to pull this guard off, or the mount off, just to keep it from breaking, as long as I can sneak it out, and it'll make it easier on us later, I believe. To be gentle with this, these are usually made out of plastic. So, and this being this old, is probably brittle. Now I've got to get underneath and pull this down. So I'm going to pull that down and then pull this guy up. There we go, like that. Now I'm just got to fish this out. That'll keep us from breaking it when we tip the bed up. Next thing we need to do is check the connections at the rear. So we got this taillight harness. At the moment I'm just going to unplug the one. See if I can get you hung up somewhere. You just pinch this side right here and pull it out. Mine's sitting through this cross member. It's not going to hurt anything. I'm not going to pull that side off unless we have to pull the entire bed off. So that's going to be it for wire connections. Now there's 8 15mm headed bolts. One right there, one right there. Yep, nothing there. One up here, I'll get a flashlight so you can see, but it's up in here, and one right there. Let's get the flashlight. So I'm going to get the impact and blast all this side all the way off. On the passenger side, I'm going to loosen them up a good bit, but not pull them out. I'm hoping it will just pivot off those bolts. Half-inch impact, 15mm socket, and I don't have one long extension, but I have several medium extensions. we'll see how lenient the rest of everything's going to be. One hand I can pick it up. Alright, I'm gonna take a minute, figure that out. Alright, this part's not going to be an exact how-to. If you got friends around, use them. I could bench press the bed really easily, but not get something underneath at the same time. I didn't have anything tall enough. I grabbed the bottom of the body, it's too soft, so I stacked up these blocks so I could hit this rib. And then once I got it high enough, I just picked it up, put a jack stand under it. So now we've got plenty of room to get to the fuel pump. This is just a quick connect. You can reach around it just on the back side, and there's a plastic clip on each side. You squeeze that and kind of rock it, and it will let go and squirt fuel, whatever pressure's in the line, out. Let that clean the frame there a little bit. This, you've got this little red tab right there. It might actually be pulled out already. Yeah. So it's, when it's pushed in, it's locked. Once out like that, now you can open it and pull it off. And then I'll see if this is tight. Oh yeah. This is plastic, so I don't want to be too mean, but lefty loosey, righty tighty. Get a screwdriver, hit one of those ribs. I should be able to hit this with my palm. Might need a big hammer. Alright. Alright, BFH time. There we go. This will just come undone. I need to get some brake clean and blow this crap off before I open it and drop it into the tank. Someone's been in it. I can see some marks on the other side where they hammered it in. Maybe. That could just be the angle of the dangle. I think we're off. Yep. And now you have a basket of fuel. That should, yep, it's gonna pour everywhere, but it'll come out. Basket spring loaded. Oh, the spring loaded, it's just weighted down. See how we can compress it, get some height out of it, but I'm not gonna stop it from dumping gas everywhere. And we're out. Alright, so that's what you're left with. We clean all this up. and get it ready for our new pump assembly. If you were just putting the factory style back in it, you're just going to do exactly what you do in reverse order. But we're doing something a little different. We are going to be putting in this Holley 450 liter per hour returnless fuel pump assembly. This should definitely keep up with our twin turbo 360. The other one was not. I tried to get a pump that would just go in there nice and easily. It didn't take too much digging to figure out. You kind of had to rig some stuff, and I didn't really want to do that. And in order to get another pump that was a little closer, I was right in the territory of buying this pump straight from Holley that drops in for $400. So that's what we got. I think this is, what part number is this? There we go. 12-324. You can get the return style too. The only difference on this one, I'll go return style eventually with a regulator up front. I just didn't want to do all that right now. Money and rails, regulators and lines, I don't want to change that. But this is a very simple setup. You got 8 ORB up top, and the return, if you want to use it, you just pull that plug out, put a fitting in there. And then here's your internal regulator is built into this hose. So whenever you go to return style, you just change this piece. So really easy to upgrade down the road, and the pump capacity is fun. It doesn't have a basket like the factory one did. You see I've got pieces of the old one everywhere. It doesn't have that. It's got their hydromat, what would be, I guess you'd call the sock, but it's got their hydromat, which we're going to run front and backwards on the tank. And they've got a demonstration on their site of how this thing works, and their demonstration is incredible. It's in a tank, and you could tilt this all over the place, and it doesn't matter how much of this is in the air. If any corner of it's touching the fuel, it will only pull in fuel and doesn't aerate it somehow. Magic. We're just going to stick it in. If we have problems with it, we'll know. And if it becomes a problem, we'll address it by making our own basket or whatever we had to. I doubted this to begin with, and then I decided we're just going to try it and see what happens. But you get that. You get new seal for tank. You do have to order this separately. This is an 8 ORB to 3/8 quick connect to go right back onto the factory connection. So I hope we're going to find out. It does not plug and play with the connector. They send you a new connector with a pigtail. So we're just going to butt splice this on for now. I use this stuff at work, and I'm pretty sure I have these pins. So I'm not going to get too fancy. My plan is to just get it working for now, and once it works, I'll bring the tools home from work this weekend, take the butt spliced section off, and just put this connector right onto the original wires without splicing anything. Just cut it off, put new ends on, put it in the connector. Eventually, since this thing probably is going to pull more, it's a bigger pump, it's probably going to pull more amps. Eventually we're going to have to run wires to get bigger so that it can handle that capacity, but for now we're just going to hook it up. So let's look at it some more. Looks like we've got to get the float set up, so I'll show you how to do that, and we'll get it in the tank, and then we'll look at their instructions on how to wire it. Float level looks easy enough. It's got this little clip to trap it. It's like you just push it right there and right there, and this guy should lift up. We'll set this to the side. This guy should go in the hole. Tight fit. Alright, we need 2 hands. And this goes in like that. And we take our little clip, and we just put that guy back in. Ta-da! Where the sock goes, we got this rubber cap. I'm gonna have to kind of eyeball this, because if you look at, let's set this back down. There we go. If you look at this piece, it's got all these holes. I'm sure those holes are to line up on that dowel. So we need to know which way we're going to clock this thing, so we know which way we're going to clock this thing. I don't think that's going to be too difficult. Vent connector, that should line up pretty much right there with how it was. I wonder if I can tell where the float level used to be. Alright, let me do some finagling. Let me look at the top to see how it used to be clocked. I don't see anything that would clock it. So, I believe, let's see, in return, I think we'll run it this way. So this is front to back, and then we will run the stock this way as well, long side towards the back, so when we're accelerating, most of the fuel is going to go to the back. Set this guy down. So we got this running this way. We want this to run this way. Doesn't quite look like that's just going to work out with our dowel, but I can loosen the pump up and rotate it, because right now we pop it in there. Let's see. Takes a good bit of force. That's all the way on. Make sure one more squeeze. It's all the way on. You can see I want this front to back. I want this front to back too. So we're going to go find an Allen to release this pinch bolt, and we'll rotate the pump. There we go. 4mm Allen. Let's loosen this guy up. Looks like we can set the height too. This also sets our height on these rails. So these are some things we're going to need to check. I think we're just going to check it with a tape measure. That should have, there we go. That's allowed us to rotate this thing. So we want it parallel with this guy. That works. Alright, now we're going to get the tape measure. You can see where this thing's clamped. It's come in, the pump's actually sticking up a bit out of that clamp. We don't like that. My guess is that it's not set to the right height, because once we see where the pump is hitting this, once we set it to the right height, that'll probably let us push the clamp down a little closer to where it's supposed to be. It also looks like it has some detents. Let's get that measured. 12 3/4 is our number from this lip. It's actually pretty close out of the box. I think we can drop it a little more. Let's see. Not really. It looks like it's actually set pretty good. We're going to leave that alone. That's right at the bottom of the tank. So we're just going to snug all of our bolts back up and call it a day with the height setting. Really surprised it came in just right. Of course, when we put it in, we want to make sure that it's sitting all the way on this lip and not floating. We don't want to push it down on this. If it's doing that, then we need to adjust the height up a hair more, which it doesn't look like you really can without modifying these. You have to cut those down. So hopefully it's just good. Floats in, socks on. Let's stick it in the truck. Hopefully this will go in like the other one came out. Little fish. Put the sock and the lever into the hole first, and then just rotate. Oh, nice and easy. We'll realize we forgot the rubber piece. And we'll fish it around the top. Crap. Alright. No big deal. Slide the rubber piece around. Make sure it's fully seated. It feels good. It's a little tight on the rubber. It fell right in without it. Or if I have a can of brake clean, we'll try that. That is a snug fit. There we go. I think we're gonna have to grease this thing up. If we get it in, it ain't ever coming back out. Yeah, holy crap. Alright, let's try that. Alright, you asked for it. Most of the grease should slide up the fuel pump. It shouldn't actually keep covering it or slide down into the fuel by any means, so we should be fine. Alright, let's try that. Make sure our seal's all the way around. Started square. Oh, that's a tight fit. Oh, and we're in. Holy crap, that thing fits good. I'm not worried about that leaking. Our fittings are still in line, so that means our sock is going up and down the tank, and the level sensor. Let's get the ring on it. Well, this was tricky, getting it lined up before. That's not it either. I don't have any tricks for this. This just sucks. You just gotta make sure it feels right. Nope. Thread starts over there. Should start about right here. Almost touching, not touching. No. Now it feels like this side's up. I guess it is. Oh, maybe. Nope. Stay down. Now it's pulling down flat. It just needed the hammer. I don't think that's tight yet. Sounds pretty solid. That feels nice. I'm gonna call that good. Alright, let's get our fitting. Alright, this fitting is supposed to replace this, so I guess I need to take that piece off. Got it off the other one. Hopefully it just slides right on this one. Nice and easy. This is an 8 ORB, which is going to be a 7/8 wrench or a 22 millimeter. Put this in the out port. Come on. And it swivels, so you don't have to worry about clocking it right or anything. It's just tighten it down. Nice and easy. Hey, I could rotate the pump a little bit. Of course, it's greased up in rubber, so I guess I might try to tighten it a hair more, but I had a good bit of force on the wrench. Alright, fitting in, factory fuel line. Get that clocked right. On. Of course, once we get it wired up, we'll check it for leaks and everything before I drop the bed back down. Alright, let's look at their instructions on the wiring. I hadn't looked at the instructions yet, like most of us don't do, and then we're like, why doesn't it go together? And then we check the instructions and everything's good. So looking over it now, still same. Pull the plastic clip off, put that in, put the clip back on. That holes are designed to line up with that dowel, no big deal. Check your height, use 5/32. Mine said number 4, it said 4 on it. I guess it was 4 millimeter, or maybe it was just close enough, but 5/32 hex wrench. Tells you to measure this measurement to take one, step 3, blah blah blah. I guess we did that. It just happened to come in right. Use a minimum of 12 gauge wire. Let's see. Yeah, that's not 12 gauge. They also had a 255 option. I'm sure with the 255 option you can just drop it in and not be a problem. That's got me a little worried about it, but we'll be alright. We'll finish up this video. I've got some plans on changing some other things later. I've got to put a relay in for the transmission cooler. I'll put one in right there by the fuel pump too. No big deal. So I won't go over that in this video on updating that. I'm just going to hook it up to the factory wires for now. It being a 450 liter pump versus the factory 190, it makes sense. It's going to pull a lot more. Paco, what the hell are you doing? Get out of there. Come on. Get. Come here. Go on. Get out of there. Get. Go on, get. Come on. Dumbass. Don't you shit in there. Crazy cat. Alright, if you got a 5-wire, blah blah blah. A 6-wire, we have a 4-wire. Simple enough. The insides are for the level sensor, the outsides are for... No, that's not right. Let's see. White and green wires from the hollow unit to the wires that correspond to the following pins in the factory fuel pump. The inside pins. Does that look right? Okay, yeah. Inside pins are level sensor, outside pins are for the pump. Here, what did I do with the pump? Yeah, that's right. I don't think it matters which orientation. Alright. And it doesn't even tell you on the hot and ground. I guess they don't intend for you to run it to the factory wiring on this truck because it's a little small. We'll be alright for today. Oh, I'm gonna get me some butt connectors set over to the side, and we'll get this hooked up. Alright, this should be easy enough. I'm just gonna plug this guy in. Our white and our green are going to our factory level, or to the factory level sensor wires in this plug. This truck had a problem before. This green wire is your hot for your fuel pump on the outside. Get you closer. Right there. These two in the center are for the level sensor, and this is the ground. This thing has had a problem before. Previous owner has tapped it or cut it out and grounded it on the frame. So to save doing that with this one or hooking it to that small wire, since it does want a larger wire, I'm just going to ground it right here on this cross member. Usually you don't want to ground to a cross member that's bolted in like this, because you could have continuity loss between that cross member and the frame. I'm not worried about it right now. I've got a pretty significant amount of plans on moving things, batteries and electrical controls, so I'll be redoing some of this. But that's irrelevant to this fuel pump install, especially if you're just putting a factory one back in, or the 255. The wires are plenty big enough. And your truck may not have had a problem like this at one point. So anyway, we're going to hook white and green to these two center wires. We're going to ground it over here, and we're going to hook the green wire to the red wire, and we're going to rock on for now. Alright, I'm gonna key it up. We'll see if we have any leaks. Well, fuel pump didn't work, but look at this crap. Red, black, white, green. Red, black, white, green. You plug this into here, red doesn't line up with red. Black doesn't line up with black. So I've been sending power to the freaking I've been sending power to the level sensor, and the other side of the level sensor going to ground. Hopefully that didn't hurt it. But this is definitely on them. This is their connector. And they're a pigtail. So look at that. That's why it does not work. Luckily this is just a Deutsch connector. Hopefully it didn't hurt anything. Definitely need to send them some kind of note. We pop this out and then use a little flat blade, and you can pop these pins out. So we'll straighten that up real quick. I guess we probably could have caught that had we paid a little more attention, but now that we flipped the wires around in their plug to match the other side, let's see what happens. off camera, I figured out that when I flipped the wires there on their connector, they had them absolutely ass backwards, but then I had the hot and the ground flipped. So I had to flip them from top to bottom, but I also had to flip it from left to right. So now that's working, it's sucking fuel. The pump was running, but it was pulling it out of the rail and pumping it to the tank, which is why you could hear some noise and then it got really loud as if it wasn't doing anything. But good to note, if you use this in your Dakota, the original base pressure was 55 psi. Now it's 75 psi, so it's running really rich. I'm gonna have to pull fuel out of the table globally just so we can drive it, because it's really rich. Not too terribly bad, it's not good. It's going to get a little better as it warms up, and that could just be it. It's still not fully cold, but pretty cold, plus that bit of change. Well, that's going to be it for this one. I took about 5% fuel and kind of got it in a range that it'll run fine. But it runs. If I put the key in it. There we go. Apologize for it being dark. Can't do anything this time of year. It's dark by 5:30. It's ridiculous. That'll work. So that's going to be it for how to change your fuel pump. Of course, the factory fuel pump, that's for the people who want to know how easy it is to change this by yourself at home. And for the Holly one, that's for us boys trying to make some more power out of these things. I do think it might, the 255, if the pressure is the same, might be a viable option for a factory truck. Upping the fuel pressure will richen everything up. Under idle and cruise, the O2 sensors will straighten out that fuel. If it's a little rich, it'll get it right back to 14.7. On my Ram, when I dynoed it, when it was stock, it was actually pretty lean under wide open on the dyno, so a little more fuel pressure probably would straighten that up a bit. But if you made it this far, thank you for watching. If you're new, like and subscribe.